Hi, Dr. Wong Chin Huat. Welcome to Penang Institute Chats. Chin Huat is a political scientist. He is also probably famously known for being one of the leaders of PERSE, the Coalition for Clean and Fair Elections. He is also a vocal opponent of the Election Commission's retaliation exercises. Chin Huat also always wears black, and he has been doing so for the past 9 years?
Yeah.
Thereabouts. Can you please tell us a bit more about that?
Sure. It started in 2009, to be exact, February 6. There was a time when the democratically elected state government of Perak was overthrown, when 3 lawmakers crossed over. What I took issue was that the request by the ousted chief minister to have a fresh election was rejected. In other words, that you can bring down a government, but if the government wants to test it out to see on which side the public is with, you should give them a chance. So my protest was that. And in May the same year, I was actually arrested for 3 days for asking the rest of the nation to join me. The reason for to wear black would have expired in 2013 when we had the new election. But I decided to stay on wearing black because I believe the system is very flawed. The system meaning our first past the post electoral system. And so I pledged to wear black, continue to wear black until we have a chance to change to a more reasonable system.
Okay. In the same vein, my major question is perhaps, is Malaysia ready for a mature democracy in the sense that it's not just about the votes, but about strong and independent institutions as well? Because we all talk about new Malaysia, but how new is new?
After the change, we all talk about institutional reform. But when you talk about political institution, you can think about it as having 2 sets. One set is about rule of law. So your judiciary, your attorney general chamber, your bureaucracy, your anti-corruption commission, all those things is on one side. On the other side is a representational institutions. Those is your parliaments, your cabinet, and election process itself. Now, I think people are very ready to talk about how to fix the rule of law part, because that's really about professionalism. You have the right people there, you have the right system, things should work. But the very reason why all these things got eroded over time is really because the political part of the institution. And this is a part that I think we need to fix. On that note, that I'm not actually very positive, not very optimistic that Malaysia is so new. In the old Malaysia, up to May 9, we actually struggle to deal with political competition. The one reason is this old idea that because we are diverse, we speak different languages, we have different ancestry, we profess different religion, and therefore any political division would be dangerous. And the first 12 years from Malaya independence up to 1969, we did see the idea of multi-party democracy being tested. You have the alliance government, then sort of a centrist government, but they would be attacked by both the Malay-based opposition and the non-Malay-based opposition. The Malay-based opposition tends to attack the government for being too pro-Chinese. And the non-Malay-based, Chinese-based opposition tends to attack the government for being too pro-Malay. So you have the centrist guy actually get attacked from the side. And then we have the riot. And after the riot, Tun Razak come to this conclusion that, given how racialized our society is, it was not a good idea to have politicking. So he wanted to contain competition. But at the same time, he believed, this is his words, in our view, democratic government is the best and the most acceptable form of government. As long as the form is preserved, the substance can be altered according to the particular needs of a country. In other words, he wants to keep election because that makes government legitimate. But at the same time, he did not trust competition because he thought that our society was too divided. And what we had then for about 39 years was suppressed competition. So you have election, but they were not really free and fair. You have opposition, but they were suppressed all the time. And things changed only after 2008, so you have another 10 years of rigorous contestation against the old system, which I would call an electoral one-party state. And what we have now is that, well, the old government get ousted. But the system actually did not change much. And this is a question. Given the current system, can we actually have good political competition? I want to caution people and say there are two crises coming up. One, let's start with this. Our current system tends to produce radicalized opposition. As in the earlier cases, you have the Malay and non-Malay based opposition that refuse to be centrist because the center position has already been occupied. We are seeing similar things happening. Barisan Nasional was reduced to basically UMNO and the Bornean parties. But the Bornean parties left UMNO almost immediately, within 2 months. So today you are talking about largely UMNO with a small tail in Sabah, and then you have PAS, and then you have your GPS, Gabungan Parti Sarawak. This party could not come together because they were too far apart. There was no benefit for, say, the Sarawak GPS to team up with PAS. But between UMNO and PAS, yes, they would like to team up. Between the ex-GPS and the ex-BN party in Sabah, they can also team up. So eventually we might have Pakatan Harapan facing two different opposition in two sides of the South China Sea. In West Malaysia, you would have a Malay-Muslim pact between PAS and UMNO, challenging the government for being too soft to the non-Malays, as we see all this controversy revolving language, gender, religion, and now ISIT, and so on. On the other hand, the Bornean opposition may come together and demand not only autonomy, but at some point they may go for self-determination. So that's the first problem.
Right.
The second problem is that the government may implode.
Right.
Okay, why? Because the form of our government is called permanent collation, meaning the party join together before election and is supposed to last after election and election. It's almost like a marriage. The problem is there are parties that have different dynamics, different pace of growth, but they were not allowed to compete. So that would become a problem. I can give you an example. When Tun Dr. Mahathir formed his cabinet, there was a lot of protests against the fact that Parti Bersatu and Amanah were given too many seats as compared to PKR and DAP. And so on surface that doesn't look fair. But actually you look carefully, Bersatu was the one who delivered the substantial Malay votes that tip over the balance in many seats. Without Bersatu you probably wouldn't win. The problem is, how do you measure their contribution? You can't, right? So that's become a matter of discontent. And if Anwar come into power, that probably would have...
When?
In 2 years' time, if that happened. So that probably would have to be adjusted. But what if UMNO jump over? Now, if they jump over, they're more likely going to join Bersatu. Now, Bersatu would then be almost either number 1 or number 2 largest party to compete with PKR. Would they settle with each other? There's no sign that would happen, right? So PH like to pride itself on not having a hegemonic party like UMNO, but without that, there might not be even stability. So the way out is really to introduce a form of competition for the parties to compete. The way to do it is to give our voters 2 ballots. 1 ballot to vote for your constituency representative, as what we have now. So Pakatan will contest it as one collation. At the same time, we give them another ballot to vote for individual party. So the party can then compete and see who actually has the largest share, and then they can sort out how they want to divide the seats and so on. That would take out that internal pressure for infighting.
Interesting thoughts. Thank you very much,
You're
Dr.
most
Wong.
welcome.
That's all we have today.